Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Isaac from Guns for Everyone. Wanted to talk to you today about a word. That word today is safe, specifically when we're talking about safe direction when it comes to firearms. Um, I've got today a not a real gun, and I use these a lot in training for a very specific reason, and that reason is to reduce risk and reduce unnecessary gun handling. So if this will serve my purpose and I don't need to use a real gun, then I'll use something like this. So you're going to see me handling this today. Obviously, this not a real gun. All right. People talk about firearm safety a lot of times without thinking through their understanding of the principle or the concept, as well as not really thinking through the words that they're using. As an example, you will hear the firearm safety rule given around safe direction given as something like always keep the gun pointed in a safe direction or never point the gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. And we don't really think about these words that closely. What does always mean? Well, to me, always means always. What does safe direction mean? Well, safe direction to me means it's safe for a bullet to go that way. And if we think about most of the places where we handle a firearm, there is no direction that is really even close to safe. If we go to a shooting range, we will talk about directions where it's acceptable for a bullet to go. It doesn't mean it's safe, meaning perfectly safe. It is acceptable for a bullet to go that direction because the risk is as low as it can be given the activity. When we talk about the word safe, we have to be more clear than that. We have to understand what that word means. So I looked up the word on a few different dictionaries. What does safe mean as an adjective? I wrote it down because I'm too dumb to remember things. As an adjective, from Merriam-Webster, safe means free from harm or risk. From the Cambridge Dictionary, not in danger or likely to be harmed. Okay. Well, a bullet coming out of the barrel at 1,000 feet per second is likely to put anything that is in front of that bullet in danger. So, where am I supposed to point this thing when I'm handling it in my office? Can I point it at the wall? Well, if the bullet hits the wall, it's going to go through the wall, and it's probably going to go through the next wall behind that. If I aim it at the floor, it's probably going to go through the floor. And what's below that? Doesn't really matter first and foremost what's below that because, first of all, I don't want a bullet going through the wall. I don't want a bullet going through the floor. I don't want a gunshot going off in my house where that would be unlawful. So, what do we mean by safe direction? What we should mean when we say safe direction is what is generally safe given the activities we are doing and the other steps we're taking to ensure that the risk is not going to outweigh the benefits. So, in my office, pointing the gun at the wall is not something that is safe, but it's safer than pointing it at myself. Pointing the gun at any other part of the room may or may not be less or more dangerous depending on what exactly I'm doing. In this particular room, right below this floor is a garage that no one hardly is ever in. Okay, well, that's safe enough given that I'm going to do other things to protect the safety of the activity. When I handle the gun, when I load the gun, when I unload the gun, I am going to be careful about where I put my finger on the trigger or off the trigger. If I am function testing my firearm to make sure that it's operating properly after I have cleaned it, I am going to confirm that the gun is unloaded before I function check the gun. And I'm not going to take unnecessary risks by pointing the gun at myself when it doesn't need to be pointed at myself. When I am handling the firearm, I'm going to treat it as it is a deadly object. I'm going to treat it as if it has an enormous amount of power and risk, and I'm not going to take unnecessary risks. Speaking of unnecessary risks, to do this video, I don't need a real gun to demonstrate things like generally safe direction or generally unsafe direction. I don't need a real gun to do that. This represents a gun. So I respect the danger of the gun by not doing things with a gun that I don't even need to do with the gun. I can use a piece of rubber. So when we talk about this safe direction, what we really mean is risk. If we evaluate risk appropriately and we don't take unnecessary risks, then we can call that generally safe. Not absolutely safe, but generally safe. So, one of the firearm rules that we use when we talk about firearm safety is keep the weapon pointed in a generally safe direction. Then the last part of this is whenever possible. We talk about whenever possible, meaning there are situations where you would need to point the gun in a direction that nobody would even remotely call safe. Drawing a gun from a holster, from concealment, oftentimes includes pointing the gun at a part of your body. Guns do amazing amounts of damage with very little effort. I would not call any part of your body safe to point a gun at. But is there any other way to draw the gun from concealment that takes advantages of all the other benefits of drawing from concealment that doesn't point the gun at you? Generally speaking, no. Generally speaking, that gun needs to be pointed in the general direction of your body in order for it to be concealed, accessible, and efficient for you to use in self-defense. So what does that mean? Well, that means you better be aware that the gun is pointed at you, and you better treat it as the deadly object that it is when it needs to be pointed in that generally unsafe direction. If you're using the gun in self-defense, that may require you to point the gun in directions you would not usually consider worth the risk. But in that moment when you are defending life, that risk and benefit balance says if you do everything you can to be as safe as possible, the risk is acceptable in order to use the firearm to save your life or the life of somebody else that you care enough about to help. So it's important that we take these words seriously, that we're precise with our words, because if we're not, it can lead to unnecessary risk. It can lead to misunderstanding. I know that when I first started in the firearms world and I was given rules, the inherent inconsistencies of the rules always bothered me. And I wasn't sure what to do with that information until I got some good education and some good instruction around it. And now I understand it much better. And that helps me make better decisions with my firearm and helps me be more aware of the risks around me. So I'd like to hear what your comments are on this. Please feel free to challenge this. Think through it. Bring it up in the comments. Bring it up wherever you see us. You can argue with us if you want to. Arguments are good. Productive arguments are good. And I think that's something that we should be doing on a regular basis is hashing these things out. All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Check us out, gunsforeveryone.com, free concealed carry classes across the state of Colorado. And we've got more training coming up this month. So check us out.